but how do you decide when to call versus some times of when to stay quiet? What are some signs maybe a hunter should be listening for in a gobbler's response?
If he's not moving forward is when you really going to change things up. Like that, it's everything we're doing here is what trying to get the gobbler to come to us. Everything is contingent upon him stopping that forward momentum. But the caveat to that forward momentum, him moving, progressing forward, is only call enough just to keep him coming. Okay, that's always the temperature taker, if you will. If he's moving forward, yelp at him, give it some time. Don't just burn him down and yelp constantly because he's gobbling, he's closing. You yelp, he gobbles. You give it a few minutes, 5 minutes, we'll call it. You yelp, he gobbles, he's closer. All right, he's coming. I don't have to do much of anything. Just give him a little bit of time and then yelp again. If he's closer, get your gun up and get ready. If that's how easy it happens sometimes, we all know this. If you're turkey hunting longer than 5 minutes, that and been in the woods for a few years, you get those 2-year-olds, or even sometimes it'll be a 5-year-old that'll run you over with just some yelping. But the key is when you're yelping and then he just hangs up and you yelp again, you check him 5 minutes later and he's still out there, and you yelp again. That's when you start escalating your calling. That's when I will generally try to get excited first, and I'll start doing some of that cutting I was just doing, those fast clucks. I'll do that with some excited yelping, and then see how he reacts. Once I get a feel for what he does after that, does that break him? Sometimes he'll just, oh, okay, I needed to be reassured this is my sexy girl I'm talking to. And you cut and you yelp, and then he starts to close. And he starts to close. You give him a few minutes, let him work, play cat and mouse, and then cut it and yelp at him again. Oh, okay, he's closing again, all right. Then I'm going to dial it back down. Once I hit him a couple times with some cutting, and he's closing, then I might dial it back down and just go back to the plain yelping and calm back down a little bit. Then I can save that cutting if I have to get him excited again. If he's just shutting down and not wanting to do much of anything at all and just stays out there 100 yards, that's when I'll go quiet, which silence is gold. And silence is is the best turkey call I think ever invented, is having the discipline to be quiet and not call. It's amazing. It's killed more turkeys than people will ever understand if they could just do it for 15, 20, 30 minutes even. Now, the caveat to that one is you got to be careful, especially if you're hunting Merriams and Rios. Because the Merriam and Rio, if you give them too much silence, they'll walk off. They'll lose interest and walk off. So this is more Osceola and Eastern oriented, what I'm talking about. And simply put, curiosity will kill the cat more times with Easterns than Osceolas, just going quiet. If that doesn't work, I'll cluck and purr and whine. And I can demonstrate a purr is the rolling, contented sound of a hen turkey. You're fluttering your tongue, and then you're throwing those little softer clucks in it called bubble clucks. And I'll go really quiet and then do this real soft, contented stuff, soft yelps, stuff like that. And that's just really signifying that maybe you were really loud and sexy and aggressive at first, and then you're just like, he hangs up, and then you're just going to play coy and go, I think I'm going to go back to feeding now. I was all excited for a few minutes because you were showing off and you were gobbling real sexy for me, and I was getting excited, and then you hung up, so you stayed away from me, so I'm just going to lose interest and go back to clucking and purring and doing those little whines and soft yelps I was just doing. So that's another play time when you gauge your calling down. Here's what I tell everybody. There's so many, we could sit here for hours, and what about if he does this, and what about if he does that? Have about a playbook this deep with 1,000 plays in it. When one doesn't work, and I don't mean rattle each play off like you would in a football game after 4 downs. I mean, try a tactic, and then give it some time. If you're going to do a fighting purr, if you're going to go quiet and do soft yelps and clucks and purrs like I just did, give it 20 minutes. If he doesn't react to that, then you know what? I might do a fighting purr. I might do a Jake yelp. I might just start cutting really, really, really aggressive hard at him and trying to get him excited. I may go quiet. All I can tell you is when they stop moving forward is when you have to try something else. And that starts with patience and sitting and probably getting a little quieter. And then it goes all the way into getting aggressive, to gobbling at him, to doing fighting purrs, to call to the hens. What if he's got hens? We could get into that's a whole podcast on talking to the hens I could get into. I love doing my dissertation and my theories on talking to hens and not offending hens, but trying to call the hens. So have a big, thick playbook, Josh, and have a lot of different tricks up your sleeve that you can try when one doesn't work. And when all else fails, going quiet is never a bad decision. Just to shut up for 20 or 30 minutes and let him work. Again, caveat, Merriams and Rios are a little more difficult. And Gould's turkeys, if you get to go to Mexico, and Gould's. All three of those, I say they have ADD. You have to call a little bit more, and you can call a little more to those 3 subspecies. So